I tell all the young boys that I run into when they finish in high school, but don't stop. Get all the education you can get. I dropped out of school in 1933. I didn't have not one book did I have. Of course, we had to buy books then, you know. It wasn't free. And I didn't even have a book, and I was getting behind, and I dropped out. And so then the CCCs, Roosevelt was elected president, and that's one of the first programs he started. And it was for young men 18 to 25 that had dependents. And of course I had a widowed mother, and I had three sisters and 3 brothers. And anyway, I was the oldest boy in the family, and so I signed up for the 3 C's. I had to lie to get in. I wasn't but 17 years old. I told them I was 18. But there's a lot of them in there that was younger and older too. And anyway, I got in, and I was in there 14 months. And I stayed long as they let me stay. And then I came out and still couldn't find a job, and I went back in as soon as I could get back in, and stayed another 6 months. And finally, a couple of years after that, before I ever got a job, I was going to Memphis about every day, hitchhiking, looking for a job, walking the street. Just didn't have any skills of any kind, but I knew a lot of boys from the 3 C's that was working in there. They'd gotten jobs, and I'd go by and see them. And finally, I lucked up on one of the Swift and Company packing house. And so I was working for them when I went in the Army. The war came along, and I went in about a year after Pearl Harbor. Well, I think we went overseas in September of '44, and we went in combat November of '44. And I was in combat about a week, a little over a week, before I was captured. My lieutenant and I, one night, we were going up to pick position for a machine gun. And we were going up to pick positions, and when the platoon's supposed to follow us, when they got there, we could tell them where to dig in. We was going to support an attack the next morning. And things had changed. We walked right into Germans, thought they was Americans. The most awful feeling I guess I ever had. I felt like I'd let everybody down. So this boy got us, and he took us out. They had a machine gun set up there, and he carried us, walked us out in front of this machine gun. And he says, "You want a cigarette?" The lieutenant didn't smoke. He said, "No," and I said, "No." So he said, "Wait here." And he turned around and goes back to the guy on the machine gun. And the lieutenant, we were just standing there, and the lieutenant said, "Well, Pat, I guess this is where we get it." I said, "Well, I guess so." So we was standing there waiting for it. And then he came back, boy came back and got her. I spent my 29th birthday in the prison camp. I was kind of old when I went in the Army. I wasn't no Franks. I wasn't no 18-year-old like most of the guys I see. You know, I think they're all 18 years old to hear them tell it. You know, but I was almost 27 years old when I went in the Army. The 2nd platoon did the same thing we did. We were going up on the left side of the road, and they behind us going up on the right side of the road. And the lieutenant and 2 sergeants and a corporal. And the two sergeants and a corporal I was in prison camp with the whole time. The first prison camp we were in was we were in with the British, and we stayed there for a week or two, a couple of weeks, I guess. And that's where they kind of segregated us. Officers went one way, and the privates they took out, sent to work, and non-commissioned officers went to another camp. So I went to a non-commissioned officers camp over on the Oder River east of Berlin, and was there until the Russians made their push, and they moved us, and we walked from there to camp south of Berlin. We were there until the war ended. It took me from the 8th of May to I think the 18th of June before I got home. I had lots of dreams about going back to school, you know, and out of 7 children my mama had, and when after my father was gone, the oldest one was 13 years old. I had 2 sisters older than me. I was the 3rd child. I was the oldest boy, 10 years old. All the rest of them got a high school diploma. And I was the only one that didn't have one. So it means a lot to me that, you know, all mama's kids.
Would your mom be pretty proud today?
She would be, I'm sure.
Lewis Patrick, he was born in 1916, lived through the Great Depression, left Horn Lake High School before completing his senior year to support his widowed mother and younger siblings. He went to work for a CCC camp, joined the Army during World War II, and served in Europe. In Germany, he became a prisoner of war, 5 months in 3 German POW camps. Very little food, with intense cold. Wrote about his confinement in his own words. I was cold and hungry, but not beaten. I believed that my heart that my comrades would come. All I had to do was survive. He not only survived, he prevailed. Americans did come for him. He has lived a long and productive life, has taken many courses to educate himself. After careful review, we've approved his honorary high school diploma from Horn Lake High School. It's with great pleasure I award a diploma to Lewis Patrick, who is our newest and our oldest student, Mr. Lewis D. Patrick.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir.
Oh, I tell all the young boys that I run into when they finish in high school, but don't stop. get all the education you can get.